All right, welcome back. It's Q3, week 4. Today's day 1. Today is the collar day. We are going to do some collaring. Get it? Yeah, I know it says collar me bad, but come on, collaring? That's pretty good. All right. Anyway, today we're going to work on the collar. Um, you probably already have arms connected to your model. I've done sort of a rework on this, and you'll notice that it is week 4, day 1, even though that says the wrong thing. But the point is, today we're going to work on the collar, so we don't care about that other picture. So whatever. We're moving on. So like I said, you probably have arms, but we don't need arms today because we're just working on the collar. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So from the front view, it's probably a good idea at this point to make sure that we can see through our character. So go ahead and hit M for material, and throw your modeling material on there so you can get a good idea, or at least a rough idea, where the collar and geometry is for that. So first thing first, I'm going to do a little bit of manipulation here to sort of look at how we're going to bring this down. I'm going to sort of try and get this a little closer to my model, at least from the front, and probably back here as well. Bring that down in line a little bit, since it should probably be pretty much straight. Now from the left, once again, we are going to also be modifying this some. That out there. I'm just, whoops, I'm trying to get the basic shape here of the neck, where the actual neck's going to come out. I'm not too worried about the shirt at the moment. All right, we're just more worried about the placement of the neck. Um, so that's sort of in the right general area. Left, we don't want that to come down too much, but this probably could come down more, so that probably works out well. And this could probably come in, and etc., etc., etc. Basically there. Let me bring that up a little bit. So this is cleanup that I probably should have done during the chest video, but whatever. Okay, so that's pretty close. All right, cool. So from the front, let's see how that looks. Looks a little bit better. Is that the front? Okay. Once again, this is sort of just cleanup. So the idea here is we are going to want to have the collar be built off of the chest. We are going to sort of fake it. Okay. There's no sort of about it. We are definitely going to fake it. We're not going to build a real collar. We're not going to build like some sort of weird cloth physics or anything like that. We're just going to sort of fake it. And we're going to try and be as efficient as possible. So what we want to do is we're going to look at how the collar's built and where we need it to work. All right, so from the front, we can tell that it's probably a good idea to try and keep this that geometry in line with the actual shirt. And you'll see more about that in a second. So from the front, now that we have this sort of set up, where this is our shirt, bring that down, and I want to bring that down too. All right, cool. Oops, front, that's our neck, not our shirt. So our shirt's going to be here. That's better. All right, cool, cool, cool. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find this line and maybe fake that line a little bit. And we may do some more faking of it later. But for now, I'm worried about this section right through here. From here over, but not that. Because from the front, that's basically where our collar is going to be. So what we're going to do, easy enough actually, is we are going to extrude. Actually, I'm going to inset first. Now, if your inset is all weird, and it may be, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to reset all my transforms real quick on this object. So reset transforms, reset selected, go on here, collapse all. Yes. So from the front, I mean, we've done that a bunch of times, so it shouldn't take you too long to do that. So I'm going to take this section here, and I'm going to try and insetting it again. Hopefully it's much better. And it is. Oh boy. Alright, so what I've done is I've inset the geometry all the way along this. Okay, so from the top, it should be equally distant all the way through, which is good enough for now. One problem I do have is when I inset this section, these two faces came in, and that's not what I want. I want this particular one to be roughly the same distance it was before, and I want it to be on the center line. So I'm going to right click down here on the X axis and bring it in. And then I'm going to even out, and this is actually what I'm going to do all the way through. I'm going to even out the distance all the way through on my neck. Okay, now sometimes this is easier than others. In this case, it's not too bad. I want if you were to connect these dots, it should all go towards roughly the center of the neck. Alright, that way it sort of spokes out, kind of like a wagon wheel or something. And I want this distance to stay pretty consistent, at least as consistent as I can make it. So these two are obviously further away. These two are further away. Those two are further away. I'm sort of generically aiming these two dots towards that. Same thing with that. So this needs to be in, and this needs to be equidistant. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about it. It is going to be in between a little bit. Hit Z for zoom, and then hit L for left. Make sure everything looks okay still. I've got some weird geometry happening from the inset. I can just rotate that and move it like that. Okay. So what I've got for now is I've got an inset that sort of runs all the way around. And that's going to be a good start. Because of that, I can actually start pulling in some of this other geometry, because that is going to be where I'm going to extrude out my collar. So I'm actually going to go into target weld, and I'm going to start target welding this geometry back out. So this one goes to there. This one goes back out to there. So all I'm going to have is a little inset all the way around. Your collar is probably going to be slightly different. It doesn't matter. What we want is just that little bit. Cool. So that's going to be our collar. Now if you want to start sort of setting that up so it's a little closer and it looks a little flatter, you could do that. It's fine. The collar is actually going to extrude out of this from the left. Cool. There. Oops. Okay. There. All right. Now, once again, hit face, hold shift, grab all the way through, and I should grab all of that. Now, from here, I'm going to extrude. Okay. That extrusion is perfect. It's too long, but still perfect. From the front view, I can start looking at approximately how long this is going to be. Now, when you think about this, I want you to think about how it's extruding up, but not out. Okay, so this is the portion of the collar that's actually coming up, which means I'm going to have to adjust some of this, and we're going to work with the geometry here. But this is the basic idea. It's coming up, not out. This is before it turns out. We're going to do some turning out here in a second, but for now, this is pretty good. So I'm going to leave that there. If you wanted to, a little relaxing couldn't hurt. This section here needs to be fixed up, because it needs to make sure there's no inside vert, which is that one from the front view. This is the inside of that face that I want to get rid of. I'm going to hit 1, and I'm going to zero those back onto the center line, so that when I weld my character together, his collar welds together as well. And once again, you can sort of even these up if you want. We're making believe, we're doing a make-believe sort of thing here. That's the back, so I'm going to put that there. We want the spokes. Once again, we're still sort of aiming the spokes of the collar so that they go in. Right, now is not a bad idea. I'm going to hit M and drag my old gray material on so I can see things a little better. So I don't do things like that from the front. Good. Z. Good. Good. Let's see. Z. All right, cool. Cool. So, from the front again. So that's how the color is now coming out. At this point, you can adjust it if you want. If you feel like it's not out enough, if you've got a better idea of where it should be. I want it to run basically along this back line in a semi-believable manner. I can hit F3 to see through like that. This should probably be up since this is the back vertex. Come up. That's going to come up a little bit too. Notice I move that on the y-axis only. That way I don't get any confusion there when it comes to positioning later. I want to make sure it stays on that axis so that when we do move it later, it's still going to weld properly from the front. All right, F3, F3. What's going on? Oh, I keep hitting F4. Okay, cool. So what I've done is I've extruded out that portion of the collar. Now I hit the number 2. I'm going to grab this loop, or any one of these loops really. I'm going to insert loop, and that's going to give me another one. Now we're going to work on something called the Edit tab up here. If you go to Edit, Edge, and now if we move up and down, it stays on the edge. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it so that it's roughly where I want it to be. Okay, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extrude out along this outside edge only. So once I move that up, the edge portion up here allows me to move the vertices along the edge that they're already attached to. So when you're done with that, you got to make sure you go back into edit and go back to none. Otherwise, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this whole thing isn't working the way I want it to. Now I'm going to extrude out from this to get the collar portion, like the sharp portion this here. Now I'm not going to bend mine, it's going to be smoother. And we still have some geometry we're going to work with, but this is the general idea. Before I do that though, I'm actually going to delete some of these inside verts because I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to need them. I want this to be sort of a low poly situation, so I'm going to use the number 1 and I'm going to do some target welding. Actually, yeah, I could do that, or I could show you a new technique. You know, we could target weld from here to here all the way through, but instead, I think I'm going to hit Q, select all of these verts, and I'm going to use that edge edit tool again to go to the edge, and I'm going to move it along. So edit right here, edge, hit W, and I'll move them up, and they are going to line up with the other. I'm just going to slam it all the way up, and all of those edges are going to line up with the other edge, and then I should be able to grab the right type of selection, grab that one, grab that one. I think I'm going to hit F3 so I don't accidentally get something I don't want, because that would be bad. Not terrible, but bad. Alright, and I've got all of them. I hit F3 again so I can see what I'm doing. I've got 16 edges, or 16 vertices. I'm going to go to weld. I'm just going to weld them. Now I've got 8 all the way around, so I've effectively gotten rid of those verts. Now the only one I didn't get rid of is these, so that I've got a little triangle here, and that's going to be okay, because it's no big deal. It's okay to have that triangle. Now I'm going to hit 4, and I'm going to deselect that. Basically what I want are these. I want this outside ring. Notice I only have the outside ring. Now from the front, just so we can see it, I'm going to extrude it. Extrude. I'm going to extrude along local normal. That way it comes out like that. And I can extrude it pretty big if I want. Click OK. And there we have our geometry. Pretty cool, huh? That's the basic idea of our collar. Now I can hit the number 4 again. I mean, I shouldn't have to hit it again, but I did. I'm going to delete that face because we're not going to need it. This face we do need, so we're not going to mess with that. But I am going to grab all of the, oops. I'm going to grab this, hold shift, and grab this entire ring from the front. I hit W. I'm just going to move it down. Ooh. Up. That's that culprit. I did it too. You might do it, but at least you got to see what happens when it happens. All right, cool. So I'm going to get those. I'll move that one down some more until it starts crashing. Get rid of that. Move that one down some more. Get rid of that. And once again, this is just like the general idea. We can go in through this and sort of fix our problems. Now, once again, I am generally trying to make this cheap. All right? I'm sorry, not cheap, efficient. All right? So, because of that, I'm going to be moving some of these verts around from the front. Once I've got that, I'll move that. Lift you, move it so it's underneath it a little better. Move it out a little bit so I've got an edge. And then grab both of them and move them so that it's more like a collar. See that? Now, it's not beautiful from this angle. It's close enough. What we can do is we can take this, move it back up, move it out a little bit if we want. We can take this and make it up like this so it looks efficient. Now, here's where we can save a lot of geometry. A lot is relative. Because we're going to use Turbo Smooth, it's going to be more efficient to just sort of do some target welding here. If you want, you don't really have to. So if you're running behind, don't worry about this. But if you do want to make this more efficient, we can. And this time I am going to use target welding. I'm basically going to target weld the inside top to the bottom here. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing around the outside. Okay? So I might not do that one, but I will do the next one. So what I'm doing is I'm target welding these together, and then I'm going around hitting F3 so I can see through it. And I'm getting rid of the inner portion of the collar because no one will ever see it. That goes to there. You can sort of watch these triangles disappear as I do it. That goes to there. That goes to there. And from F3, from the back side, you can see it better. I'm taking this triangle and attaching it to that. So you can't tell the difference, but the inside is much more efficient. Now, for here, I'm going to do the same thing on the outside of the collar. I'm going to make it nice and sharp. Now, the only problem is, by making it sharp like this, I may have problems when it comes to shading, because it will be an extremely sharp edge, but it's extremely cheap. So if you're making something like a MOBA where the character is always going to be really far away, that's fine. If you're making something where it's not, the character's not going to be far away, that could be a problem. The next thing I need to do is go ahead and make sure I've cleaned up all my geometry, like this. And now that there's only one vert to manipulate, you can actually get quite a bit done. And how it works. Move it out a little bit like that. You don't want things to get out of hand when it comes to how much they're crashing. So from the top view, there's going to be a lot of give and take. You're going to have to move something in and then, oops, I hate when I do that, and move it up or down depending on when it starts crashing, because you don't want it to crash through like that. Top view, once again, keep it sort of round. Now in the front, we do want some depth to it, like this, just because it's going to be more obvious if it's super sharp from the front. So there you go. Bring that out some. If you want it rounded, more rounded, you can bring it in or up or what have you. But once again, generally people will never see that. down. Put it up and over a little bit like that. There we go. This one too is going to come like this from the front now. Now you could go through and add another loop there. I don't think I'm going to. I think that's going to be fine for now. What I can do is cap the entire inside. So if I hit 3, and then cap it. Where is it? There it is. And then I can actually go to number 1, hit number 1, and then do some connecting. So I'm actually going to select that vert and this vert, and I'm going to connect them like that. So I've got a center neck portion there. Then I can go ahead and hit the number 4, go to insert vertex, insert a vertex. So now I've got a vertex that I can use. Hit the number 1. Actually, let's go to 4. Select this, delete it, hit the number 1, grab this vertex, 0 it back out so it's all together. Hit the number 4. You can delete this because we're not going to need it. Now we can extrude our neck. Okay, so this is going to extrude up like this from the left view. All right, that's pretty good, actually. It's going to come up like that. Now you'll notice my collars probably needs to be manipulated a little bit. That's fine. I'm also going to relax that a little bit. Local. Expand this out from the front. Left. How's that look? A little too much. Cool. Cool, cool. Now from the front, once again, the number 1. Hit the number 1, and then I'm going to 0 that out. This is all going to be deleted. Delete, delete from the front. And then hit number 1 again, sort of move this stuff around. Make sure you don't have geometry crashing into one another. Or looking bad in other ways. There, kind of. Front. Cool. That should be all right. Front. There. Actually looks pretty good. I'll take it. Maybe take this and move it up a little bit like that. So sharp. Okay, cool. Move that out a little bit. Front. All right, there you go. Once again, I'm not too concerned if it's not 100% following every little detail, because this, in the grand scheme of things, it's a very minor thing that we're working on. But you get the idea. Now for this, I'm going to hit the number 4, grab those, make sure they're the same as this. So I can just grab all of them there. This vert here will be my shirt portion. There. Cool. Good enough for now. Obviously, you'll have more time than a very short video. Just like we talked about before, it's not a bad idea once you've got it to where you're happy with it. Make sure nothing is selected. And then go and add the symmetry. And if it's not viewable, look at it like that. Render it and see how it looks. Not bad. Once again, you can always come back down to editable poly, hit number 4. I'm going to select all of those and make sure that all of those are their own. Nope. There. Nope. I can make sure they're their own group. I'll just make them number 2 for now. Now, if it gives you a weird shadow, that means that the inside needs to be separated out because you have such a sharp edge. You've got to make sure you don't have the sharp edge sharing its sharp edge with the rest of the objects. So let's change that to 3. You'll notice that weird shadow's gone. That also gives us most of what we need by making sure this is 2, 2, 2, and then this is 2 and 2. That should fix most of our problems. As I said before, if you've got verts that are out, you can sort of move them around. Like that. That looks like it. Front. So, all in all, still cheap. Render it. Let's see how it looks. There. Good enough, man. Good enough. If we look at it from the bottom, which no one ever will, still looks okay. One thing you do need to sort of worry about is on the back. Sometimes, ooh, that's not good. If any verts got, sometimes the verts can get, I don't know, just like they come in a little bit, so it just looks weird when they come in. It's probably better to make sure that they're further out than they need to be, because if they come in, it looks like, I don't know, like a weird divot or something. Also, these 2 verts, it's probably best if they're not, from the top view, if they're not absolutely equal, they need to be almost equal. And that's the nice part about working with the symmetry modifier, is you can see in real time how that's working by making sure you have this section, the show end result, on and off, because it really does help give you a better idea of what it's going to look like at the end of the modification. And once again, I'm looking to sort of make this round-ish, and how all these wagon wheel spokes head towards the center. Right? If you've got any sort of overlapping like that, just right-click and then get rid of any sort of aberration off of 0. You want to make sure you're staying perfectly at 0. And here's one of those things I was telling you about before. If it comes in a little bit, that's weird. That doesn't make as much of a difference. But there we go. That's a good start. Real good start. This portion here we could probably do later by just that and this, and inset that to sort of make your trachea versus the sort of tendons that run through your neck. But for now, it's good, and that's where we're going to stop, I think. So that's the collar. I hope that helped. I know there was a lot of confusion. When I first put up the video on the chest, I had this, the collar and the chest put together, but really it makes sense because this is sort of a very specific thing to do that we should build this off on its own video. So now it is. So just to review, tomorrow we're going to go into hands. Your model, once again, probably already has arms, and that's fine. But that's basically it. This is it. Make sure also, always be vigilant about your n-gons. And we're going to continue, we're going to continue this tomorrow with hands, but with this, I'm going to, while I'm in editable poly, I can actually delete this symmetry modifier. I don't need it right now. Before I quit, I'm going to double check to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. So I'm going to hit number 4, make sure I've got polygon selected, go to selection, numeric, greater than 4, so click select, and then look for anything red. And nothing's red, so I'm still at 100% quads. Yay! Perfect. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.